everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at a brand new Dave Cooper comic called Doghead Comics #1. This is put out from the Mansion Press. The Mansion Press does some really awesome books. They also put out the Ohm stuff by Andy Barron. So fan of the things they put out. This definitely seems right within their line. And I'm super excited about this because I know Dave Cooper's name. I'm familiar with his art. I know of Weasel, but I've never read it, never seen it. So really excited to actually read a Dave Cooper comic and dive into what I know is a strange, surreal world of his. This book is actually also a flip book, which is kind of fun and cool. So it's like, almost like a one-man anthology type of thing where there's two stories. And as far as I can tell, these stories really have nothing to do with each other, but maybe as this unfolds, that changes. This book says it's #1 of 6, so I'm not sure if these are the only two stories that are going to play out there, if they become related, if other stories are going to work in. I'm not sure, but pretty cool book. You can see that the artwork on this side of the book is done primarily in pencil. It's set in Nova Scotia in the summer of 1971. There are also, throughout the book on both sides, a significant amount of the imagery looks like it's being done with a colored ink, either on a brush or in a dip pen. And then that makes me a little less sure that these marks are made with pencil, but maybe that there's some kind of like cross-hatching technique going on with an ink wash or markers or something. I'm not 100% sure, but the grays look like pencil to me. And then there's, what looks like ink or maybe a colored pencil. I don't know. But the combination of what looks like a pretty black and white book with some little hints of color is pretty cool. On this side of the book, you have this character here who they just call L'Architect. He's coming in to the house of this rich fellow here, Mr. Richter. And Mr. Richter, this is like a normal house up here, and on the side they're building an add-on to it that is from this new area of study called metabolism architecture. And this architect character has been hired by Mr. Richter to build an actually like self-sustaining alive home for him. You also start to get a sense that Hardy Richter's wife, Bess, so this is Mr. Richter here, this is Bess, and this is the architect. It's pretty obvious that there's some sexual interest going back and forth between the architect and Bess here. And even though she kind of seems like is represented gross with these big buck teeth and kind of like curvy but kind of floppy and stuff, it's in the story that he realizes that she has some kind of mysterious charm on him. So that's pretty much what this story is. I'm not sure where all of this is going, and also I will say that what was going on narratively in this story, as strange as it was to have this idea of this metabolic architecture and stuff, the artwork in this didn't quite seem to fit the story. Don't get me wrong, I love the artwork and I think it works fine, but I was just surprised, like the story seemed, I don't know, in my head I would imagine that kind of story having a different vibe. It just seemed more grounded or something in a strange way. And that comment will make more sense when I flip the book over. So here we have the other half of Doghead Comics #1, and you can see it's still presented as Doghead Comics #1. It's just the other side. It's got the characters from this side on here, and you can see immediately that this is going to be a much stranger world. We've got all these naked people running around with eyes at the end of all of their naughty bits. And this, to me, feels more like the type of story that this art is like, meant to be is not the right word. It's just like, it feels more natural. Like this story makes perfect sense with this art. Where on the other side, still like the art, it was telling the story just fine. It just felt disconnected, which is something I don't know that I've ever really felt in a book before. Usually it just, this is the style of art. But you can see on this, the cartooning chops, the very Ren and Stimpy-ish nature of what Dave Cooper does. It just fits better within this cartoon surreal environment, I think. You can see here, this is very much also like Andy Baron Ohm, like these weird, surreal landscapes that you could get. Also, kind of like a Jim Woodring vibe to a lot of this stuff. This is like almost Jim Woodring meet Ren and Stimpy, I guess, is kind of what I'm taking away as like the two major things that you could smush together. And from what else I've seen of Dave Cooper's stuff, that makes a lot of sense to me. That kind of seems to be the vibe. So here we have a totally different story as far as I can tell. This very strange, weird world where we've got this yardstick god enjoying a beautiful day, barbecuing Mother Nature. Also, gods are on their haunches picking the latest batch of characters. So these gods like pick these characters out and cook them up and eat them. They've all got these genitals all over with eyeballs on the end of them, which lead to some very, very disgusting genitals. A really hilarious and very Jim Woodring-ish moment here where this strange little dog creature that they've got, which this is what looks very Jim Woodring to me, is biting this character's balls. But they're not, like, this isn't balls and this isn't a dick in the story. Like, this is something that it eats through, which is even more disturbing. And then you see we get back to this character, Eddie, on the side here, who's off in the city, and we don't know how those things are going to relate yet. There's this weird thing walking through the city, like pooping goo all over the place. There's these big, like, egg things up in the sky that people are able to ride in. It's a very strange world. So as bizarre as this story is, and I don't totally know where it's going, like jumping back and forth between the Eddie character and these god characters that are collecting characters. But this sequence here, the ultimatus clearing, gives me a sense of that maybe some of what the greater kind of structure or intent of this story is. You have this little god character here, Yardstick, is arriving to present his satchel of characters and receive a new assignment. So he's going up to like the big boss and he hands them these characters for approval. It says, yeah, they're fine, thank you. And then Yardstick says, what can I do for you? And the big character says, well, your world is quite complete for now. Nothing this week. Oh, and this cat lady isn't bad, but next time maybe finesse her a bit more. She's a little malformed here. He takes a look at it. No biggie, it happens. I should have caught that. Maybe I don't get the same thrill from creating that I used to. Maybe I feel taken for granted sometimes. And you get this whole monologue here about how he feels as a character creator, basically. And from the quick little bit that I read from Dave Cooper talking about why he came back to comics and stuff, this seems to me to be like an obvious kind of surreal metaphor for someone who's working within a system as an artistic creator. And that makes a lot of sense to me when you get someone who's jumped from comics into animation and back. So that story is very interesting to me, and I think like I said, the art style really works for that. You also have some cool collectors only doodle pamphlet in here, and this is on a different type of paper. It's like a yellower, more fibrous paper, so that's kind of cool. It feels more like a sketchbook. You get a look into the creative process, which is always fun. And then there's this big drawing here, which this actually, I don't know, it's still hard to tell. I don't know. These definitely look like ink marks with smudges, but some of this stuff look like it might be colored pencil. I'm not sure. But a really, really beautiful piece here where there's kind of like a couple colors going into it on the creating side. And it would be really cool to see a comic done with the colors like this. But really love these books, really love the style that I'm seeing. It's very strange. It's pretty much everything I was expecting and hoping for based on what I know about Dave Cooper, just from seeing a little bit of his art and forming a general sense of what Weasel was. But very, very excited that this powerful creator's back to making comics. Very happy to get a copy of it. And yeah, I would love to see one done in full color. If anyone can tell me, like, based on what I've showed here, how comparable this looks to Weasel, or if we, what else is very different about Weasel in terms of style, and is it in color, things like that. I would love to know. I might have to see if I can track that down.